All right, everybody, let's get started. Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, and welcome into the SCCU Daily Planet Theater. My name is Chris Smith. I work here in education at the museum, and I get the pleasure and privilege of welcoming everyone for the Lunchtime Discovery Series. Almost every Wednesday at noon, we gather here inside the globe at the museum in downtown Raleigh, and you can gather around the glow of your YouTube screens in order to join us in person or online for this series that's organized by the Office of Environmental Education within the Department of Environmental Quality, headquartered just next door to the museum, working together with us to host and bring you a fascinating program almost every single Wednesday right here. So mark your calendars, tune in, join us. You can even go through the YouTube playlist that we have for the Lunchtime Discovery Series to see past talks where we've had incredible guest speakers. It's always fun, always a great time, and we're always meeting interesting people who are doing really interesting work out there in the worlds of science, nature, conservation, art education, and even more. So take advantage of those resources. It's there for you. Of course, the month of February, we have a very special series set up for you. The folks over in the Environmental Education Office have put together a fantastic program for Black History Month, Legacies of People and Place. To kick off our Black History Month celebration, I would like everybody to meet Alton Perry. Alton is the Program Director for Sustainable Forests and Land Retention Project, and he's here with us today inside the globe to share with us the work that they're doing. So everyone, please put your hands together and welcome to the museum, Alton Perry.
Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well today. As Chris said, I'm Alton Perry. I'm the Director of the Sustainable Forestry and Land Retention Project at Roanoke Cooperative. Today, what I hope to share with you is the project in general, kind of a grand overview of what we do, but also how it's connected to our conservation and to our natural resources, specifically working with private forest landowners across the Roanoke Cooperative project area. So again, I want to thank the museum for providing me this opportunity to share this with you, and look forward to this presentation. Okay, just a little bit about me. So I'm from a little place just north of Raleigh, about 45 minutes, a little place called Kittrell, North Carolina. If you've ever been on US 1 North going towards Henderson, you go through to Kittrell. That's where I grew up. I also grew up on a farm there with my family. We raised different crops, tobacco, corn, some cotton, had vegetable gardens, some livestock. I was heavy into 4-H during my time growing up there on the farm. I went to high school, again, just north of here, about 30 minutes at a high school, Franklinton High School, there right on US 1, where you can see the football field. I think the actual campus now has moved, I believe, near Youngsville. So the school that I went to downtown Franklinton, I believe is a elementary or middle school at this time. I did my after high school studies at Wayne Community College, there where I received a associate's degree in forest management technology there in Goldsboro, North Carolina. I enjoyed my time there. Working around forestry and learning about forestry, so that's really where I kind of got my roots started in this career pathway. Then after my schooling, I went into the workforce, and my career, as I've noted here on the slide, I started in 1982 with the North Carolina Forest Service in Vance County as the Southern Pine Beetle Technician. At that time, there were certain outbreaks of Southern Pine Beetle across our pine forests, and there was specific funding that was available, and timing was correct. I was just out of school, and that position was open, and it was a temporary position. Also great about that, it was in Vance County. I lived in Franklin County, right on the Vance County line, so I could actually stay at home with mom and dad for a little while when I first started my career. Then after that, I was able to transfer into a full-time position with the North Carolina Forest Service as an assistant ranger here in Wake County, where the museum is located. Furthermore, I was able to get another promotion in 1996 as the Wake County Ranger. And with the North Carolina Forest Service, we were providing services to our forest landowners about forest management, sustainable forestry, water quality. We did a lot of environmental education to a lot of different elementary schools, the high schools, so I was highly involved in that as well. In 2006, again, I got an opportunity to get another promotion into the state office of our division, just down the road here, down the street at the Archdale building, where the central office of the North Carolina Forest Service is located. And my duties there were statewide. As they were here in Wake County, I only really worked in Wake County. With this position as outreach coordinator, I was able to work across the state, and really my charge or my task there was to share with underrepresented landowners the services and programs of the Forest Service, and to get those lands that have not been managed into management. Also to share what our other partners or other sister agencies could provide services as well, like the USDA, Natural Resources Conservation Service, Soil and Water, the North Carolina Cooperative Extension, all those different agencies that are out there to assist private landowners. Then after that, I reached my 30 years with the Forest Service, and I retired. And soon after that, I had about a year's break, if you will. I was asked and approached to begin working with a project the Roanoke Cooperative had started. And I'll share a little bit more about that here in the coming slides. So I became a consultant working with them, providing assistance to landowners on the technology, basically taking the skills that I had acquired through my career with the Forest Service and just transferred those skills into this particular position. So that started in about 2013 is when I started working with the Roanoke Cooperative Sustainable Forest and Land Retention Project. So what I'm going to talk a little bit about now is really kind of the timeline of how this project that I'm working in now got started, and how we work with landowners and all of our different resource agencies and organizations across the project area to really make sure that our forests remain healthy, productive, and resilient. So in 2012, the U.S. Endowment for Forestry and Communities, the U.S. Forest Service, and the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service came together to create this partnership. They wanted to address the issue or take a look at the issue around land loss in the African American community. Just what could their resources and resources that are out there, from funding to technical assistance, could we stem the tide? Could we change that narrative, if you will, on the land loss issues in that community? So when you look at statistics, you see those statistics that will say that around 1910, the African Americans amassed about 15 million acres of land. And if you look at that number today, you'll see it anywhere from the 2.4 that I'm showing here. I've read some articles that have it at as much as maybe 5 million. But anyway you look at that, the percentage is about 90–95% land loss. And what's the reason for that land loss? There are many factors involved. Access or not having access to technical assistance, not having access to resources, not having access to landowner education, not having access to attorneys or other professionals that can assist them with creating succession plans, attorneys that can assist them with wills. So oftentimes that land went into what's called heirs property. And then it became very vulnerable, very at risk to be lost for many different reasons. And also, to be true about the matter, discrimination was a part of those factors as well. So this partnership between the U.S. Endowment, the U.S. Forest Service, and the Natural Resources Conservation. They wanted to test this theory of change, if you will. So the question is, what if? What if there was a local organization that was in the community, that was trusted by those in the community? They could bring together all of these different resources to address issues around conservation. Would the African American landowner and any other underrepresented landowner, would they engage with this organization? Would they engage with the resources they would bring and provide? And would they start to implement conservation on the ground to address those issues of sustainable forestry, also addressing generational wealth through sustainable forestry, also addressing issues around land loss? You know, would they begin to work with attorneys or work with other professionals to address wills, looking at other strategies around land retention, and also looking at opportunities that they could move through resolutions of heirs' property? So long story short is that this model would work. And so in 2013, and I'll jump back here in a second, in 2013, there were 3 sites or 3 organizations that were awarded initial funding to address this. These sites were giving about a 30-month period, if you will, to see if they could move the needle. And that needle would be moving a landowner from just getting an education about conservation, of what was on their land, moving them to maybe developing a forest management plan, which I'll talk about a little bit later as well. So they just wanted to see if this model would work. So the 3 sites that were selected was Roanoke, of course, the Center for Heirs Property, which is located in Charleston, South Carolina, who do a lot of work around heirs property. And also there was a landowner organization in Alabama, L.R. Lean, which is a limited landowner resource education network. Those were the 3 sites initially chosen to do this work. Since that time, the SFLR network has grown to 8 sites across the South. And as you can see here on my slide, there are the University of Arkansas, the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, which is a HBCU. The L.R. Lean, as I mentioned, McIntosh Seed in Georgia, Winston Self-Help there in Mississippi, the Center for Heirs again in South Carolina, Prairie View A&M, again, which is a HBCU, a historically black college and university, and also Black Family Land Trust out of Virginia. So we are working, this network is working throughout the South to address this issue of land loss and conservation in the African American community. Recently, it's been about a year now, the network, we consider ourselves a network, and the network, we've hired an executive director. Her name is Bethany Wilkinson. She started about this time last year, and so we're excited to have her to guide us into our next chapter as a network. So I mentioned heirs property was one of the components of this initiative. This first slide I'm showing you was created by the Wake Forest University Law School several years ago. But when you look at this, it really gives you the indication that heirs property is an issue from the coast to the mountains. There are some hot spots, if you will, that are kind of illuminating there around the Virginia line. And those counties are the counties that the project is currently working in: Halifax, Northampton, Bertie, Hereford. Those counties has a very high disproportionate area of heirs property. But even with that said, as you can look, this is just not a one location across our state. It affects many different demographics, socioeconomic demographics as well. So recently, some additional research was done, I believe, through the University of Georgia, and also with our partners over here at NC State Extension Forestry. It kind of gives you a little bit deeper look into the Ayers property. Again, they've have done the determination there's approximately 40,000 parcels of Ayers property across North Carolina. That equates to about $1.4 billion in value. So that's a lot of value. And I will also add here, when we talk about Ayers property, it can be in rural America. It can be in your urban settings as well. Could be someone who owns 100 acres, could be someone who owns just a house lot. It still applies. So what is Ayers property? So when someone, an owner, dies without a will, it goes into probate. And if you don't have a will, the state of North Carolina will determine where your proceeds go or where your ownings go. But when you look at Ayers property, any bloodline has an interest. And so a descendant of that original owner has an interest, and that share of an interest, that share doesn't mean it's a particular spot on the land itself, or it's a particular area down by the creek or next to the road. It's just a share or an interest in that property. Depending on the size of the family, that share, family members can be as little as 2 people that we see with families. And I've talked with attorneys who have worked on cases that may have as many as 200 or more heirs that have an interest in that property. So it can become very complicated and complex. So that's kind of an overview of how the Sustainable Forestry and Land Retention Project got started, and a little bit about Ayers property, the complexity of Ayers property, how property becomes Ayers property. Now we're going to talk a little bit about specifically what Roanoke Cooperative does to address the issues around conservation and Ayers property. And I will say that those other 7 sites that are doing this same work, we all are in the same space, if you will. We may come at it a little differently, but we're all looking towards the same goal of conservation and also reducing Ayers property and preventing Ayers property. So here is our staff at Roanoke Cooperative. And before I get to that, let me just back up a little bit and say a little bit about Roanoke. That I think I've got a slide coming up here. If you don't know what a rural electric cooperative is, there are 26 in North Carolina that provide electricity to member owners. And I'll show you a slide here, a little bit about the geographic area of Roanoke. But here's our staff. Of course, we've got myself along with we have 3 outreach specialists. That's Ricky, Sheila, and Judith. And they really are the ones that makes that initial contact, if you will, with landowners who are interested and want to learn more about what we do. They're also the ones that once a landowner enrolls into our program, they're the ones that stays connected to that landowner, who's the point of contact for that landowner as they walk through this process of conservation and land retention. We also have a communications consultant who takes care of our website, creates publications for us, does marketing and distribution when we're having events. So he keeps our web information fairly fresh. We have many blogs there that people can go and take a look at. We have videos. We also have webinars that we post from ones that we've done before. So that's a good place to get information about the project. We also have information about our landowners themselves there and all of our different partners. So we try to keep the content there as fresh as we can and providing information to those who just want to take a look, see, and learn more about who we are and what we do, but learn also more about just conservation in general. We also have two admin folks who help to keep me straight and keep all of our records straight and budgets and that type of thing. We also have a component that I'll speak of a little bit here later about our youth component. Ms. Reba Green Holly, who is a retired extension director out of Gates County, who does a great job on engaging our youth and creating an opportunity for them to have an understanding of career opportunities within the natural world through STEM as well. So just a little bit here about Roanoke Cooperative. Roanoke Cooperative is located right at the Virginia border. If you've ever been on I-95 going north and you get up to around Roanoke Rapids, that's kind of where they're located back to the east. Their original, or their service territory encompasses 6 counties. They have about 14,000 member owners across that 6-county project area or service area. They have about 2,100 miles of electrical lines and other electric company infrastructure, substations and poles and wires and all that type of thing. And so they are the ones that provide that electric power to those customers there in northeastern North Carolina. As I said before, Roanoke Cooperative is one of 26 here in North Carolina, one of 26 cooperatives. So let's talk a little bit how a landowner would actually go through this process to look at, how do I address my my forestry, and how do I take a look at what we can do about our heirs property, or take a look at it if it's not heirs property. We work with landowners who are not in an heirs property status, and so what can we do to assist them to reduce that risk of it going into heirs property, and so they can have what's called clear title as they move through this process. So our goals for this project are to provide access to landowner education, access to technical assistance for forestry, access also to financial assistance for forestry and conservation, I might add, also access of getting information and going through the process of succession planning, estate planning, and also heirs property resolution. Now, I've been talking about that the focus of the project in the initial project when it started was around African American land loss. That is still the focus. However, to meet Roanoke Cooperative's mission to engage and serve all members of its community to enhance their quality of life, all landowners, regardless of demographics across our project area, this project is available to them. We want to make sure that all of our forests, specifically in the project area in that northeastern quarter of North Carolina, that our forests are healthy, productive, and resilient. So these are the counties that we currently work in. I will say that we started with Roanoke Cooperative's service territory to begin with, those 6 counties that I just mentioned. So we were able to expand beyond Roanoke Cooperative's territory and move into additional counties. So we currently serve 13 counties. Those are the colored in that green color. Those counties in that kind of pinkish color are opportunities for us as we look to expand. We are being asked every day and all the time from our partners to other landowners, are you going to move into our county? And so we are working towards that to eventually move into additional counties. Now, the counties that you see kind of in that purple color, we are going to be doing a partnership with them, which is the Sand Hills Prescribed Burning Association. They do work around Robeson and Hope County in that area, specifically with indigenous landowners. So we want to be able to support them in the work that they're doing and really expand this work of conservation and also land retention. Now, the other part of this map of North Carolina that is not colored, we also have a partnership with one of our sister agencies that you saw on my slide earlier, which is the Black Family Land Trust. They work statewide. So oftentimes when landowners come to us and they're not in one of our 13 counties, we will share that information with Black Family Land Trust, and they will take that landowner and work with them as we would. And oftentimes I will say it's a partnership where we both are working with that landowner in some capacity, but the landowner is actually enrolled into the Black Family Land Trust program. So when you looked at my slide that talked about the different goals, and one was landowner education. It's so important that landowners and the general public at large understand the importance of our forest land, our forest resources here in North Carolina, and also across America, if you will. You know, a lot of times when I talk with landowners and talk about the different products or how they are touched, if you will, by either forestry or agriculture in general. You know, sometimes I didn't realize that came from a tree, or, you know, so there are approximately 4,000 different products that we use every day that are supplied through our trees. And I will always kind of giggle when I was in working with Forest Service. I would go into the classrooms and I would ask the question, well, tell me some products that come from trees. And everybody's hand goes up. I said, but you can't say pencil, you can't say paper. And then everybody has this look on their face, going, oh, well, what else is there then, you know? So, and that's a part of the education process. But when we look at our forests out there every day, you know, they're providing that clean water. They're also providing, reduces flooding and runoff, shelter for our wildlife out there, and habitat for them. Also recreation. Some folks just love to walk in the woods, you know. Different recreational sporting events, whether it's hunting, whether it's bird watching or something like that. Also, I think we forget sometimes just how relaxing it can be to take a walk in a park or take a walk out on your land, just to commune with nature, if you will, really to take that time to let the cares of the day kind of slide away and just enjoy being out in nature. And also there are spiritual connections as well. And another big factor about our forests for here in North Carolina and also across America is the economic impact that our forests have on our state, local, and county. So when you look at the statistics here that we've gotten from our friends over at Extension Forestry, approximately 28, almost 29, 30 $billion goes into our state's economy from our forest sector. So that's a good, tremendous amount there. Also, a lot of people may not realize when we ask them again, I would ask folks, well, who owns most of our forest land out there? And they would say U.S. government, state government, county government, but really it's you, private landowners. You own about 60% of our 18 million acres here in North Carolina. So that's why it's so important that organizations like ours and many others who work around and in conservation, we do that to ensure that we have those forests for tomorrow, if you will, and to keep our forests as healthy and productive and resilient as possible. Again, when we talk about landowner education, what we see oftentimes is that, and when we started this project about 10 years ago, landowners who would come to our meetings oftentimes had very little knowledge of their forest land, of what their forest land could actually do. Oftentimes they wouldn't think about their forest land until maybe someone would, ask them about they wanted to purchase their land, forest land, or the timber on their forest land, or someone would send them a letter, and they'll get a letter that would like to purchase your timber, and they never really thought about the asset and the value that that forest land brought, not only to their community but also to them themselves. So when we have these meetings and workshops with landowners, we cover a list of different topics, of some just listed here, from, who do you contact? That's always one of the first questions a landowner will ask. Well, I don't even know where to get started. And so this is what the project do. We put in front of them all those different organizations or agencies that they have right in their county that they can contact. State government organizations like the one I work with the Forest Service, the USDA agencies are in these counties, so they can connect with those agencies to start looking at what technical services they can bring to them. Also, we talk about reforestation. That is, what do you do with your forest land after it's been harvested? When you look historically, oftentimes it's harvested, and then, we'll let Mother Nature kind of put it back. And she'll do a good job, but sometimes it needs a little help. How do you go through that process? Even when they're doing a timber sale, how do you conduct a timber sale? Do you just, have someone knock on your door, you get a letter, and you say, okay, I'll just go ahead and sell it? It's a lot more involved than that, because you have value on the stump. And so we teach landowners what other resources are out there to ensure they're getting value by working with consulting foresters, what the logging process would be like, and then also what happens after that timber has been harvested. Also addressing issues around environmental concerns, making sure that the land is left in a condition that is still productive, because the timber could be harvested during a time of wetness, and that can degrade your soil productivity for many years. So we teach and bring this information to the landowners. We bring information to them around present use value. This is a program within the state or within each county where a landowner, depending on how they use their property, either through forestry or agriculture, they can actually get their property taxes reduced. And what we've seen oftentimes in our project area, it could be anywhere from 40% to 70% reduction in property taxes, and that's a savings right there. Each year, what we also have is what's called our Forest Landowner Conference. And this is an opportunity, a two-day conference where all of these partners that I've talked about will come together and provide exhibits where landowners can actually walk through and have a conversation with that agency or organization and find out more about what they do. We also, in this past conference in October, we had a panel, and this panel was made up of present landowners, the parent, and their child or children. And so that was a great opportunity for discussion around legacy and intergenerational wealth and succession planning, and also what type of goals that the current owner, or the mom or the dad, or mom and dad had, versus what the youth or that their child may have had. And so that was a great opportunity to really get that discussion going, and also get to see the differences, and also understand that there are next generation that really care about the land and want to continue that legacy on. And also we had other presentations during that day too as well. So when a landowner inquires about the project and they're ready to come in to the project, this is where those outreach specialists really begin to work with the landowner. We have what we call a one-on-one session. And so this is where the technical assistance begin. And that technical assistance may begin, and the very first thing that any forest landowner needs is a forest management plan. That forest management plan will direct them, if you will, what direction, what things they need to accomplish or would like to accomplish. Also addresses, what types of trees do I have? Do I have any insect or disease issues on my forest land? Have I had some storm damage that I didn't know about? And also, it provides recommendations on how to keep that forest land healthy and productive as well. And those recommendations will help that landowner move towards what goals that they may have. So in 2024, our project staff, we conducted, I believe it was 63 of these individual landowner meetings, these one-on-one meetings. Some of them were on the farm, on the property with the landowner. And also, since post-COVID, a lot of things have gone virtually, so we also use those virtual resources, which is good because some landowners or an heir property where someone who has interest may live in California and they can't come to that one-on-one meeting, so we can talk with that person and those family members real time. Also, what is important about this meeting, the focus is on the landowner. We are there to listen of what their challenges may be, listen to what their goals and accomplishments they want to look towards, but also we have other agencies on that call or in the room. And typically it's the North Carolina Forest Service and the USDA Farm Service Agency and the Natural Resources Conservation Service. Those are kind of the initial organization to get landowners started. And so we sit there and listen to what the landowner's goals are and see how we can align what programs and services the project and our agency have to get that landowner moving forward. So anytime that you're working with forest land, agriculture, there is some cost involved. And what our agency and organization looks at, where are those opportunities where a landowner can receive some type of financial assistance to implement. Let's just say we're working with a landowner that had harvested their timber, and that landowner wants to get that next generation of timber started. So there's a cost to that. So through the technical assistance through our agencies, developing the reforestation plan in this case, we'll also look at what financial assistance may be there available for the landowner either through the state or possibly through USDA. So this defrays the cost or reduces the amount of cost that comes out of the landowner's pocket to incentivize, if you will, them to make sure that next generation of forest is in place. And so we look at working with them on that as well. But also there are other opportunities that the forest can bring a landowner. I know many of you may have heard about carbon markets. So there's an opportunity for some landowners. It doesn't fit for all landowners. Sometimes, depending on the acreages involved, you may not have enough acres to actually benefit from the carbon market. But there are also other opportunities through present use that I mentioned. Also, you can look at recreational use. Oftentimes, you have individuals, you have hunting clubs that are looking for places that they can hunt. And so that's income that land can bring or that property can bring by having a hunting lease on the property. The other opportunity also lies that we're getting a little bit more information about and having some more meetings on is around agrotourism. There's a very open market, if you will, of how land can be used. This past year, our project partnered with the Small Business Center over at Halifax Community College to put on some introductory and other workshops about agro-tourism. And it's amazing things that we sometimes take for granted that you can actually create an economic stream on. One, for instance, was I think it was someone at the coast had a burning barrel. And at night, they could rent that burning barrel, set tables or chairs around it, and just enjoy that night on the coast, on the beach, with a burning barrel. Now, again, I'm from Kittrell, North Carolina. We had burning barrels, but I was never thinking about using it in that manner. So, again, there are so many opportunities that you can, a landowner can look at that can bring that diversity, if you will, of economic streams to their property, which is very important because a lot of our landowners, when you look at acreage size, may be somewhere from as little as 10 acres, maybe can go up to about 300. But what we've seen, our average is somewhere around that 50 to 60. So again, looking at opportunities when you have a smaller parcel to be able to bring an economic input into your land. We talked about another component and goal of the project is around estate planning and succession planning. Again, one of the reasons there was a lot of land loss in the African American community, again, is about the resources available to understand that it's important that you have at least have a will. And I say that because a will doesn't solve all problems. You need to look at what other strategies you can put in place to ensure that land is not in an heirs property status. But that's one thing. Everyone should have a will. So you'll know, or who your family members will know where and what goes to who. Also, sometimes families, we love one another, but sometimes we don't get along as well as we should. So through this complexity of heirs property, sometimes you need to bring in a mediator or someone who can help resolve conflict. So the family can really start moving towards getting that resolution done and working towards a common goal. And also access to attorneys. Again, working with attorneys through our project, we can identify attorneys who may take their case on or who work in this area of heirs property and estate planning. Unlike the Center for Heirs Property, who that's really what they do a lot of, is succession planning, heirs property resolution. We here at Roanoke Cooperative, we have to refer that out to local attorneys in the region or in the area. And also working with attorneys that can be expensive. And so we also look at opportunities where the project or other resources may be able to assist with financial assistance to get that work initiated. And I just want to give a few metrics, if you will, on kind of where we are and some of the accomplishments we've done in the project itself. We currently have a little bit over 400 landowners participating in the project. I do know, in talking with our staff this morning, we do have several landowners in the queue that'll be coming on. Approximately 30,000 acres under management. The work that we do as far as outreach is so important. Getting into the communities and meeting with landowners and engaging them on their territory, if you will, in their space, as opposed to having them come to a big event or a big fancy hotel or something like that. You have to meet landowners where they are. So we've done about 57 of those in 2024, reaching about 7,000 landowners and resource professionals. Again, I mentioned earlier we had 63 individual landowner meetings, and we've provided approximately $1 million plus to landowners in their conservation efforts as well. So it is so important that our youth and our next generation have an understanding and an awareness of just how important our natural resources and agriculture is here in North Carolina. So what we've done over the last maybe 7, going on 8 years is we hold a youth summit, and it's focused on 9th to 12th graders. And what we look at doing is bringing in different agency personnel, different other conservation organization. We have a speaker that's somehow connected or in the area of either STEM or in conservation. They also have an opportunity to meet with different exhibitors, with these different organizations, and share with them, what it's like in a natural resources career pathway. Oftentimes, students may not be aware, or youth may not be aware of just what's involved in, say, a forestry or a wildlife or some other natural resource. Oftentimes, when you think about agriculture or forestry, you have this perception that it's either I'm going to be in the field on a tractor nowadays. Used to be back in my day, was behind a mule. Or if it's forestry, you're going to be in the woods, and I don't want to be in the woods with the critters. That's just not my thing. And so what we try to do here is really expand that and to change that narrative. There is so much more involved in a natural resource career pathway. Anything that you really want to do, you can find an opportunity in a natural resources career pathway. And so during the day, these students are going through different sessions, if you will. We get them into some of the simulators. We were able last year, we were able to get what's called Be Pro, Be Proud, which is a simulation unit that comes. And if you can see here on the far left, the student can actually sit in a simulation chair. It may be loading logs on a truck. It could be doing some of the other trade professions like plumbing or welding, that type of thing. We also are, as a partner, is the University of Mount Olive, and they'll bring up their mobile bus unit, which students can take a look at soil samples, identify them, look at them through the microscope like this picture is showing here. So it really gives them that opportunity to see how science fits into these natural resource career pathways. Also talking with someone who is in that field, maybe closer to their age, who's in that field, and see how they enjoy working with natural resources. Also looking at other types of jobs that participate in the supply line. In the forest industry, you need truck drivers, you need mechanics, you need all of these different types of careers and jobs associated with that. So that's why it's important we broaden that narrative, if you will, on what is in a natural resources career pathway. And one thing that we did this year as well was around some critical thinking. It's great to be able to get in a simulator and meet and talk with folks, but what do you do with your mind? How do you use your mind to solve problems? And one of the sessions that we did was around 400 acres. It's a project learning tree program that you can do. And it really gets those students the opportunity to look at, you've been given this acreage of land, what do you want to do with it? What are some of the things you can do with it? That one can bring jobs to the community, can bring educational opportunity to the community, again, and also provide opportunities of recreation. And so, one of the first things students may think about a lot of times, just build a mall. Well, the land was donated to the county with specific criteria that they couldn't do things like that. So now the students have to sit around the table and come up with ideas on what this land can be used for to put that critical thinking to use. Another opportunity that we had this past year, the project participated in a documentary that was done by director Jennifer MacArthur. It's called The Family Tree. This is a documentary that really looks at two African-American families as they navigate the system, if you will, or the process around conservation and land legacy and retention. The two families, one is a local family in Halifax County, and then the Jeffries family is out of Lee County. And so it's about almost an hour and a half, maybe or so long, but it really looks at the human dynamics and the family dynamics, because what you see on the outside oftentimes, or how do I connect with the agencies to do all these different things on conservation and whatnot, but there are some internal things that happens with family that they have to navigate themselves. So it's a great documentary. The project was fortunate enough to take part in this, and it really shares with you not only the narrative of some of the challenges, but also the accomplishments that these families have made. It was also shown in different locations here in North Carolina and also in Canada. And this was at the Full Frame Festival in Durham as well. And as you see on this picture here, you have to the far left there is the Williams representative, Mr. Tyrone Williams, Mavis Craig, who's out of Durham, who's an attorney, Nikki Jeffries, who is a member of the Lee County family, and the director, Jennifer MacArthur. Additionally, we had an opportunity to share this film down in Atlanta in an event that was held by Keeping Forest, along with their conservation partners like the U.S. Forest Service and some other partners. Arbor Day Foundation was involved as well. So here we're just showing again those who are involved in the film on a Q&A panel discussion, and then on the bottom right there is actually the two families, the children of Tyrone and Edna Williams, along with the Jeffries family. And there's someone in the very back there standing, photo bombing. I'm not quite sure who he is, but so just to wrap this up, really, what I've talked about today, it could not happen without partnerships. There's just no way it could happen. So these are just some of the agencies that we've worked with. There are many more. We're always looking to develop additional partnerships. There are a lot of different organizations out there across North Carolina. They're doing great work assisting landowners, whether it's through agricultural productivity or through niche markets and food hubs and things like that. But it really takes a tremendous amount of work and partnerships at all levels to get the accomplishments that we have to keep our forests here in North Carolina healthy and productive and resilient. So I want to again just thank the museum for having me to be a part of their Black History Month session. And here's my information and also our website. Please go there to take a look at what we're doing across our project area. Again, just thank you and have a great day.
Thank you very much. Great big round of applause. Whether you're here or online. If you're watching on the internet, you can clap too. That's fine. If you're here in the room with me, you're down here on the first floor, you've got questions, just wave at me a little bit. I'll actually bring you a microphone that lets everybody who might be in the room and who's watching online be able to hear. So you can just wave at me. If you're up on the balconies, you can ask questions too. Just wave down at us, and then we'll call on you and you can yell at us, and we'll repeat the questions with the microphone. But I think I'll get us started. I'm curious about some of these conversations that you're having with landowners. You said more than 400 landowners, 63 meetings just in the last year, I believe, which is pretty impressive. What do you feel like are common threads that landowners look for or want, or common goals that you see as it pertains to how they want to deal with the land, manage it, conserve it, sell it, so forth?
Yeah, great question. One of the first things that we often see is landowners and it's a common theme with all landowners we meet, regardless of demographics, regardless of social and economic background, regardless of the number of acres they own. Just who do I go to get started? I don't know who's out there that I can work with, that I can trust to work with to get some of the goals, and some of those goals may be something around, what's out there on my forest. I just don't even know. I may live out of state, and I've never been back to the farm, since I was a child, so I don't know what's out there. So how do I determine or find out what's out there? Then how do I find out, what are the opportunities? I may have some thoughts in mind of what I may want to do, but what are some of the other opportunities out there that I can do? And some of those questions, I might add, are answered at our Forest Landowner Conference, because one of the intentional things that we do at our conference is that we set aside time for landowners to network, to talk with each other, because there are landowners who are there that have been through the process and understand the process and can be mentors, if you will, to landowners who this is the first time they're just getting started. So, yeah.
Hi, thank you for your presentation and the important work that your organization does. What happens if someone dies without a will and their heirs can't be found, or there are no heirs?
So I'll put a disclaimer in first, is that I'm not an attorney. So, what we do in situations like that, really we defer or refer that to attorneys. They have a process that they can go through to try to determine who our family members are. But one thing I can say, and this is for anyone, whether you are a property owner or a homeowner, create a family tree so you know who your descendants are. Keep records of that. Even if there are records of divorces and separations and things like that, or there are children that or maybe be outside of marriage, keep up with that information, because that's going to be important when you start to looking at clearing title and working through an heirs property resolution. That family tree is so critical. And if you can do that yourselves. There are, I think, places on the web you can go and kind of, it walks you through it. Do that type of work on your own. That reduces the cost and the time that the attorney has to spend. And I'm not saying anything that no attorney would tell you. They would tell you, if you can do as much as you can and then prepare yourself, the more you're prepared when you come to the attorney, the better, or maybe the smoother the resolution might do, or working towards the resolution.
Thank you.
Oh, you do? Oh, sorry.
Hello. I had a question. Do you ever think you would expand into Wake County? I know you say you work with urban parcels as well, or is Wake County too urban?
Yes, that's a great question. So we may, I won't say that we won't, we would not, but one of the things that we do in our project, even if a project is not in our project area, we have other resources that can connect with those landowners as well. As I mentioned, Black Family Land Trust, they've done work across North Carolina. But Wake County is there near our region, and we're looking to fill in some of those gaps. But I can't say that we will at this time, but it is an opportunity and a possibility.
Thank you.
This isn't a question, but I put this in the chat, but to those of you in the theater, the film that Alton mentioned is actually streaming free right now on Tubi, if you know that online app, which you can, even if you don't have a smart TV, you can pull it online too. So just want to let you know that.
All right, excellent stuff. Well, I think that is our time for today. Alton, thank you so much for coming out to the museum today. Thanks for sharing the great work that you're doing. I'm very excited. I'm glad there's good people out there doing good work like that. It's good to meet you. Thanks for sharing. And hey, thanks for coming out to the museum today. Thanks for tuning in online for the Lunchtime Discovery Series. We'll be back here again next Wednesday at noon, so come and join us again for more exciting stuff, meet interesting people, hear great stories. I hope we'll see you. Have a great week, everybody.